Journey Poe's Quarantine Cooking Show.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Poe, and you're watching Jeremy Poe's Quarantine Cooking Show. Today's recipes are going to be samosas, dal, curry, and chana. But first things first, wash your hands. At least 20 seconds. Dry your hands. With the samosas, you're going to want to add to a bowl your dry ingredients, which is going to be 2 cups of flour, I don't know the exact measurement for the salt, but I always add a pinch whenever baking recipes ask for salt. 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/4 cup of melted butter. So now stir in the melted butter and a 1/2 cup of water. You're going to stir this for a bit until it forms a dough. Wash your hands again. Now knead the dough for about 5 minutes. The dough might need a little bit more water. If that's the case, then you can just fill up your cup partially, like toward the bottom, and pour in a little bit more. So we're going to want to let that sit for about 30 minutes while we work on our filling. Preheat the oven to 400. Now I'm going to make kind of like the flavor base for pretty much all of the dishes within the meal. So I'm going to start by adding some olive oil to a pan. And 1 large diced onion. The edge on your knife lasts a lot longer if you use the bottom of it to scrape the cutting board. Now I'm going to use a spoon to mix the onions and wait until they get like translucent. And now you're going to want to season your onions. So I like to use some curry powder. And I typically do 2 different types of curry powder just to balance out some of the differences in different brands. Different type of curry powder. And how much of this you add is up to you. Ground cumin. A little bit less cumin than everything else. Bit of turmeric. A bit less than everything else once again. Be careful of the little clumps that form if you're using a bottle without one of these. And some paprika. And this is kind of our seasoning base for the whole meal. So we can a little bit more oil, because the oil is really what carries it and what transfers over. I also like to add a little bit of this vegan broth based stuff. It's nice in there. Alright, so now we're ready to put on the vegetables. So we put in a bit of olive oil and turn this front burner on. Yeah. Wait a minute, and put on our carrots and potatoes. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to add some broth to the pan. I have this kind of system where I'll put water in the bottle or water in a glass and have it next to me like while I'm cooking something. And I'll pour it in. And I'll actually make the broth in the pan. Just because I have this nice broth base. Now we're going to want to stir that a little bit, put a lid on it, and move on to making our curry. So what we're going to do to finish our curry is set some of our onions aside in a bowl to flavor the dal. Add a little bit more curry powder, a little bit of turmeric, let that heat up for a little bit, and then adding a can of coconut milk. Stir this a bit. Now you're going to want to kind of look at the curry that you got going and see what it needs. If it looks like this, it needs a little bit more turmeric and a little bit more curry powder. Maybe a bit more cumin. And a little bit of paprika. And then with this you can also go by taste a lot. So now that our vegetables are done, we're going to add some of this curry into the vegetables, leaving only just like a little bit behind. With our curry that we have left over, what we're going to do is add some garbanzo beans. Stir that around a bit. We're going to add a little bit of garam masala. And a little bit of agave or maple syrup. Just a little bit of that. A little bit of sweet. Now you're going to want a mat or something on your table so you don't have to clean it off. And you're going to want to put some flour down. And some flour on a rolling pin. And on your hands. And on everything you don't want stuff to stick to. I like to make a little pile in the corner. You knead this dough again. Now we're going to want to split the dough into about like 3 evenly sized chunks. First one, roll up. As our filling today, we have some leftover lentils from last night and some of the with the peas and carrots and corn and whatnot. So I'm going to mix that together, nice and good. So now what you're going to want to do is cut this dough in half. Put the filling somewhere around here in the center and fold it from this side like that. Oh yeah, you gotta wet the edges. To make the dough stick together, you want to fold from here, turn it over, and you're done. It should look like that. So now you're going to want to spray both sides of the samosa with a bit of cooking oil. And you're going to bake them seam side down for about 25 minutes or until they're golden brown. Made the cute little samosas for Buster. Alright. Put them in the oven for about 25 minutes or until they're golden brown.
Johnny Bell's Quarantine Cooking Show.